Hello, everybody, and welcome to Week 18, the first ever Week 18 of the NFL regular season. And welcome to the Fumbling Gurus, where we talk all things regarding the NFL. I would like to introduce you to our hosts. We have the one, we have the true, we have the sick stomach,
Hey, welcome back, everyone.
and we have me, Finn, from Finsational Gaming. Unfortunately, G-Man is not able to be here. He is on the COVID exempt list. He is out this week.
We had to
I
put him
what
put him on injured reserve. Yeah.
we did, yeah. He's on the injury list. He'll come back hopefully next week. Fortunately, I was able to get off of the list this week. It was very tricky, but I was the last minute. I was able to return. Um, I'm gonna be honest with you, sick. I only had 24 hours of a pretty rough vid reaction, and it was not a fun 24 hours. So if you can avoid it, I highly suggest it.
No, I can imagine. I know G-Man typically is not one to back down from things, so him not being here today kind of speaks for itself. But yeah, I'm glad you're feeling well. I'm glad G-Man's not too sick. He's doing pretty well. So no, good to see everyone. At least you coming back, and we'll be back in full force hopefully next week.
And also, I want to welcome everyone to the Happy New Year. We get to get to say that my New Year has sucked. It has been absolutely dreadful. I just want to get right into this. I had some plans. We're gonna get right into it. January 2nd, the day after. Here we are. We're day two of the new year. And I get to watch the Dolphins lose to their old quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. And not just did they lose to Ryan Tannehill, but then Justin Herbert wins. Why does that matter? Because both of those needed to happen for the Dolphins to be eliminated from the playoffs.
Hmm.
So I got to sit there and stew and be angry and frustrated. And then on the third, I tested positive for COVID.
I mean, at least it can only get better, right? Like you're getting it out. It's the first. You're just packing the whole year in the first week, and then we'll move on after that.
Smooth sailing after that. But you know who's had a worse first of the year than we have? I have, and G-Man has.
I know where you're going, but yeah, go ahead.
Antonio Brown. We're gonna get right in on this. That's the biggest story of the week. We're not gonna spend too much time on it. We are gonna try to move off. But Antonio Brown, middle of the game, rips his jersey off, rips his pads off, and then gives deuces to the fans and the Buccaneers, and he leaves. Almost tackled by security, gets his wallet, heads out, does a podcast today, and all over the place. As a Bucks fan, what was your initial reaction?
I don't know. I was watching the game. I saw when it happened. I knew. I mean, of course, when it happened, everyone knew it was going to be the talk of the entire week, probably weeks afterwards. Um, I didn't know what to think in the moment. I think we've had enough of these stories that I was like, okay, clearly this is not what someone should be doing, but there's got to be more to the story, right? Like, I get it. It's Antonio Brown. He's going to be doing these crazy things. You kind of expect it from him. But I wanted to see what was behind this. Why this was why he felt the need to leave in the middle of the game in such a fashion. It wasn't like he just walked off and barely anyone noticed, right? Like he made it obvious he was leaving the game. Um, and I still don't think we have the full picture. I don't know if you want to go into it. I can jump into kind of what we know right now too, but I still
Well,
think there's more to the story that we haven't heard.
what I love is that it's AB versus BA right now, right? We have Antonio Brown versus I want to say Brian Anderson, but that's definitely
Bruce
not it. Right? It's
Arians.
Bruce Arians. Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian Anderson is a baseball uh, announcer for the Tampa Bay Rays. Sorry, when I think BA, I immediately go Brian Anderson. Anyways, so Bruce Arians came out. They officially cut Antonio Brown today. Bruce Arians came out and said, "Look, at halftime he was mad. He wasn't getting the carries, targets he wanted. He
Hmm.
wanted to hit the incentives. He wanted the guaranteed incentives, and the Bucks wouldn't guarantee it. And then on top of that, they were not throwing him the ball and giving him the targets he felt that he deserved. So he was mad. That's Bruce Arians' story. Of course, Antonio Brown's story. is that he said he was hurt. And he said that my ankle wasn't allowing me to do what I needed to do. They all knew that. I was on the injury report, Bruce Arians. I told him that, and Bruce Arians' response was, if you're not going to get in there, you're getting out, and did the throat slash motion. And that's when Antonio Brown left. It is somewhere in the middle, I do believe. I don't think either one of these guys are innocent, and I don't think either one is the villain that the others making them out to be. Your thoughts?
Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, neither of them look like angels on either side, right? I mean, Antonio Brown, I think we know his past. A lot has come out this week too. Well, maybe not come out, but I've learned a lot more about Bruce Arians this week than I kind of knew before now as well. Just he's wrapped up into this whole thing. Like one story that I read is when he was head coach was the Cardinals, and he had a practice squad guy. I did it. Practice squad. He's coming in. He's whatever. Parked in the wrong parking spot, and Bruce Arians immediately let him go from the team. So it's like Bruce Arians isn't a perfect angel either, and he has a lot of backstory with these types of just quick responses and things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if something like that occurred. And knowing Antonio Brown and his demeanor, do you think he's just going to sit there on the bench and take it? No. So that it could very well explain his reaction.
I hope, and I say this in a manner that's not going to come across as bad, but it probably will be. I hope this is the end of Antonio Brown. One of the things that I have been adamant on, one, is that the Bucks should have cut him with the whole fake vaccine
Mm-hmm.
card. But even before that, this is a guy who has been given multiple chances,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he even got a chance with the Bucks after Bruce Arians said he's too much of a diva, he's not going to sign with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then the general manager Tom Brady, that was reported by Antonio Brown today on the podcast. So, he gets signed by the Bucks, and then the Bucks bring him back because he was this model citizen, and then the fake vaccine card and all this other stuff that's going on, but they just kind of allow it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And now there was somebody on Twitter, ESPN personality, and I wish I could remember who it was, said that she knows for a fact that Antonio Brown, if he wants to play, will play. And I think that's so disgusting that we as fans tend to get behind these guys. And I know that there's a lot of not good guys in the NFL. We've talked about that. I'm not going to try to rehash it, but why are they given so many chances? I mean, I know they're talented, but why so many chances?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we talked about this before this occurred, clearly, with the vaccine card, where I was on board with the same way that Bruce Arians drew a line. He said, "This is the last chance. We've given them first, second, third tries at this point. If anything else occurs, he's gone." Then the vaccine card came out that it was fake. He was suspended for 3 games, and Bruce Arians is like, you know what? Like he's been good up until now. We're gonna keep him on the team. We need him. And was the second or third week back from that. Now he's right back into the thick of things. So I it could have been avoided. It should have been avoided. It shouldn't have ever even gotten to this point. But are we surprised it got to this point? I mean, this is what he does. For whatever reason. I know there's also some concerns around the mental health, and I know this week too. There's been a lot of I saw some of the massive hits Antonio Brown has taken from Burfitt was one of them. He was a monster when he used to play. I couldn't imagine what getting hit by him would feel like. But there were a couple nasty hits with concussions that Antonio took. So I mean, it could be related to that, but it's again, like you're saying, it's been a trend. You know this occurs with this player, and you keep giving him the opportunities to showcase this is who he is. So I don't know. I'm on board with you though.
I'd like to see him out of the NFL. I hope if he does need help, get the help you need. I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
that, but I'm done seeing him. I'm done, and I'm done seeing fans stick up for these bad human beings. Right now, I get to see it on the Dolphins side of these fans who are done with Tua, and are defending Deshaun Watson
Mm-hmm.
because they want Deshaun Watson. I don't agree with that. I just don't. I have a moral line that I won't cross, and I wish that other fans would do that too. Instead of blaming it on the reporters or blaming it on the victims, blame it on
Mm-hmm.
the player for putting themselves in that position.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for me too, and like kind of hopping on your point, that I would be okay with him being on a team and someone picking him up, but have him go through the help he needs, have him work through these things correctly. Don't just keep allowing him to do what he wants to do and have these acts of rebellion or whatever you want to call it. Like, give him the help he needs, make sure he's going through the steps he needs to go through to be on a football team.
Yeah, I could possibly see that, but after so many tries, I'd be ready to just move on and not give it to him.
Yeah.
But we have another, talking about how we have these human errors and issues that are biases. Well, nothing gets put up in the front. You like that transition there? I thought it was. I was like, we'll run with it. We
Yeah,
have
it
Aaron
wasn't too bad.
Rodgers, MVP candidate, maybe the MVP of the league. And then we've got this guy, the Chicago guy, this guy who covers the Bears, the guy whose big rival is the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
The owner of the Bears,
Mm-hmm.
Hub Arkush. Arkush? Whatever his name is. He came out and he is one of the 50 MVP voters. And he came out and said that he would not vote Aaron Rodgers as MVP. And the reason was simple. And it wasn't necessarily because he was an anti vaxxer, or sorry, not vaccinated, but because of the off season stuff that he was never going to be a candidate from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I go back and forth on this. I like that potentially there's this facet of the MVP of having to be a stand up guy, helping the community in good stand in, essentially, right? Because I think if you're going to make this guy kind of the poster child of the NFL and the poster child of the season, that should come with it. But also, there's a part of me it should just be performance. Should just be who nailed it this season. Who was firing on all cylinders every single game, took his team to the playoffs, made an impact. So I don't know, and especially like you're saying, there's some other facets there that are not just his performance and who he is as a person. There's some other things there. So I don't know. Is it fair? Sure. It's his vote. He gets to do with it what he wants. But I don't know. It's 50-50 for me whether or not I agree that that's how the vote should be applied.
My biggest problem with it is that they already have an award that takes into account your off the field stuff and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. It's called the Walter
Yeah.
Payton Man of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
That's you have to be a good player and you have to be a good man or a good person, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how you get that award. That's not the most valuable player. The most valuable player is who is on that team that elevates that team the most.
Yep.
And we saw what happened when Jordan Love was the starting quarterback of the Packers, and we saw when Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback of the Packers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Hub loves to point out that how badly he's hurt this Green Bay team. The team that's the number one seed and that's already locked it up.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Green Bay has really been hurt by Aaron Rodgers lying to the media, saying that he was vaccinated when he wasn't. But the players and the coaches in the NFL knew his standing, so they didn't break any rules. Unlike Antonio Brown and the safety, what's his face. So why is Aaron Rodgers being punished? I brought this up in our chat. Terrell Owens didn't make the Hall of Fame his first or second year.
Mm-hmm.
He had to wait till his third year because he wasn't well liked. Is the MVP become that? It's a popularity contest. You have to be good and be popular.
I
Are we in
don't.
high school?
Yeah, that's what it feels like, right? I don't know if it's become that. I think the people voting have become that. Where it's like now I feel so this is my vote. I can do with it what I want. I can apply this vote how I want. And maybe that's the main, just like you're saying, right? If you look at the Packers season, they lost the first game pretty badly. They lost when Jordan Love was quarterback. I can't remember the third loss, but they've, so if you take those two losses away, there's only one loss potentially that Aaron Rodgers was even playing the game or there. The first week, I don't think we really count for the Packers. But I mean, that's a pretty damn good season. And like you said, we saw the Packers without him. It's not the team around Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the majority of that team. He makes that team tick. And can you point to anyone else? Maybe Jonathan Taylor. But still, I'm not sure that's even comparable.
Fortunately, when you're talking most valuable player, it's also the most valuable position. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe a running back
Yeah.
can ever be the most valuable player on a team.
Now,
I hate that,
yeah.
but I
Well,
don't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that does irk me too because was it Parsons on the Cowboys? Um, I think he's having an MVP season the way that he's been playing.
He's having an incredible year, and he is the defensive player of the year in my book. But you know what? You can take him away, and the Dallas Cowboys are still as good as they will be because of Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I
Look
mean
at
you
the
can't.
great
Yeah.
Dolphins defense, how elite their defense has played, and they're held back because of their offense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's the
It
thing.
boils down.
Your defense it can win you games, but one person on the defense isn't going to win you games. Aaron
No.
Rodgers alone on that offense wins you games.
Yeah. And the same can be said up and down. There's a handful of teams that are so talented that the quarterback position isn't mitigated, but you don't have to be as good to still be great.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I know this is going to sound not any sort of bias on my end, but look at the Bucks. When you were healthy and you had Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate, Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, that great offensive line, you could put in a lot of players at quarterback for them to succeed.
Yeah.
You ask
Mm-hmm.
the Packers the same question, and they don't have that caliber.
Yeah.
My opinion, on that. But I think Pat McAfee said it really well in his podcast there, the Pat McAfee show, where he was talking about. He's like, I never cared if I was voted All Pro. I never cared because these guys that are voting don't play the game. They don't understand the game. They don't understand the positions like we
Mm-hmm.
players do. He goes, but I do hate that it is such a stat. Like when it goes to Hall of Fame or the greats status, people love to bring up MVPs. They love to bring up All Pros. They bring up Pro Bowls. But really, that's just fan voting, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, not maybe that needs to. I mean, I don't think they'd ever change it, but maybe it needs to go to some type of stat-based, you know, a quantitative method of determining who's an all-pro, and not make this about, like you're saying, a popularity contest.
In baseball, we have this stat called WAR. It's wins above replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I'm not going to get into all of it. I don't know how it all works, but basically, it is if you have an average level player, how many wins does this player get you more over the course of a season?
Mm-hmm.
And like an elite player is 9, 10 wins above replacement, and a bad per player is obviously like -2, -3. That would be an interesting stat to have in the NFL. And
Yeah.
where does Aaron Rodgers, a Brady, a Herbert, where do those guys land? A Joe Burrow, whoever. Where do
Mm-hmm.
those guys land versus their peers? It would be interesting. We don't quite have that, and also because it's a 17 game season versus 162.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's harder. Baseball's a little easier. It's not as intricate when one person leaves. You can kind of tell a difference with a team. NFL, you have subs coming in and out. You have people that miss a certain down or others. So it's a lot harder to tell what that impact of that one person is. Like let's say a defensive player. Sure, you can do trending stats, but can you really tell that one difference from that one player that's not there? It's tougher to do the math and understand what that looks like.
It is. And talking about Gonna like this one. And talking about not know, something that's not there. Washington football team doesn't have a name,
Not yet.
but not yet. But soon it has been announced on 2222222222222. Did I say that right?
Are they acquiring Tua on that day as well, or is there?
It's possible at this rate. On February 2nd, they will be announcing the new team name. And we've got like the possibility names. I've heard Washington Rebels,
Hmm.
uh, Washington Senators, or something like that. So some of these names have been floated around.
Hmm.
It kind of be interesting. I have grown to like Washington football team. I really have.
It's it's interesting. I'm not opposed to Washington football team. I think that it's is this the second year they've been that, I believe.
Yep.
So it kind of is sticking like right now. I think it's like you're getting used to it. Um, I don't know. It's gonna be weird whatever they rebrand to me. It's just gonna be weird regardless of if it makes sense or not.
I just like calling them the WTFs. I'm gonna 100% bias on that. I just love calling them the WTFs. Washington football team.
Then you should they should have WTF hats. Yeah, we should get all. Yeah, I'd be down.
Do it up.
I might be a fan.
I and a big fan of this player. He's now back. That is King Henry. How big of an impact is that? I
I
mean, we were
mean,
talking to him about being the best running back in the league before his injury, and now he is joining the number one seed in the AFC. Oh boy.
yeah. I mean, he was not only the best running back, he was like the best three running backs in the league before he got injured. Um, I would have liked to see him. I mean, I don't know how much they're really going to test him out this week, but they're playing the Texans, so not a huge matchup there. Maybe a good warm up for him though, a good get back into the swing of things game. But man, I'm excited to watch him. He was having a great year. Hopefully, he's not rusty coming off of missing multiple weeks and things like that. But I mean, does anyone not want to watch that guy truck people for the next couple weeks?
Saw a stat, and I'm gonna probably get it wrong, but I don't think he's played since week 8 or
Hmm.
week 9, and he is still the eighth or ninth ranked running back in terms of yards.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I
Like
wouldn't
that,
doubt it.
just to give you an idea of where he was on that list. I mean, he was having a remarkable year.
Hmm.
So big, so strong, so fast, and that's a huge boost to that team. I don't know if they're good enough to win it all.
I don't think they're well rounded enough to win it all. Can they spook some people or pull off some crazy wins? Sure. But if they play someone like Green Bay Packers or the Buccaneers that are a little more well rounded, it's going to be tough.
I mean, that's if they make the Super Bowl, right? In the
Yeah.
AFC, you
Hmm.
have you have Kansas City, Cincinnati. I mean, both of those teams to me are scarier than the Titans, even
Hmm.
though I just watched the Titans demolish the Dolphins.
Yep.
And I do not have a good transition for this one. I tried. I was trying to figure out how I can, but we have the possibility of a really, really fun Sunday night. So the Colts are in a position, if they win, they're in. They play the Jacksonville Jaguars, which should be an absolute blowout. And good job, Colts.
Hmm.
But if they lose, it opens the door for Sunday night to have several interesting things to happen.
Hmm.
See, Sunday night, you have the Raiders versus the Chargers. And the Chargers and Raiders will be in a win in your in scenario, losing your home, if the Colts win. But if the Colts lose, they could tie and they could theoretically both make it into the playoffs. Now, it would be really fun to see an entire game of kneeling down and watching the clock tick all the way down and they end in
Hmm.
a tie and both of these teams make the playoffs. Sick. What would you first off, I know in the chat there you were like, I hope this happens. But I heard that you read something. Fill the listeners with what would happen if that probably what would happen if that did in fact happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for skirting the rules, right? So if they want to sit there and
I,
kneel, I mean, I don't know, more power to them, right? Stick it to the man, maybe. Um, but yeah, I did, and I haven't verified this, but I was reading, an article this week that there is a commissioner override for these situations. I think ultimately just to prevent teams from, I guess, this specific scenario. If there's no competition, then you still have to try. You still have to go out and play football. Um, and essentially, it sounds like the commissioner can just give both of them a loss, a double forfeit, if neither of them actually go out and try to play. If it comes to that, I guess they still aren't going to kneel the entire game. I would love to see that. Can you imagine an NFL game where neither team wants to play? Um, but
it would be a perfect situation. No injuries. They both make the playoffs. They don't have to showcase any of their plays or anything
mm,
for more film. I mean, it would just be in a wonderful, wonderful time of the year for them.
and basically like you're not exerting energy. You're going to be ready to go for the next week, the playoff week.
A
As
bye week without a bye week.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We know it's not going to happen, but it'll be interesting because I don't know. I guess you then just go out and play to win. But if you go to overtime and you're both like, "Hey, man, if we just take this overtime easy, we're both in the playoffs."
I think if they play hard and it gets to overtime and the Jacksonville Jaguars that beat the Colts, I think you'll see it end in a tie. I
Hmm.
think you'll see both coaches make decisions that lead that direction.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're gonna kind of move into our picks. G-Man's not here. I'm gonna run over his picks kind of quick. And we're gonna start off with his Rams over the Ravens. That bombed for him. The Rams won, didn't they? But they won by like 2 points or something. The
Hmm.
Ravens just barely, barely covered.
Yeah,
Fortunately for
1 point.
1 point. There
Hmm.
you go. So the Ravens once again lose another game by less than 2 points. Con- Congratulations, Ravens.
Oh,
Next year, hopefully that'll revert. He did get Arizona over Dallas right. Good pick. And the Eagles dominated Washington football team. I actually don't know how they did. They won by more than three. I think it was a close game and they won by like five or something, right?
hmm.
Or four.
Eagles. No, I think it was a little. I'd have it pulled up here.
I should have looked. That's my bad. I
Yeah, 20-16 Eagles.
Okay, so he barely covered the Eagles. He barely didn't cover the Rams. We'll call that a wash. He got two of the picks right. Good job, G-Man. Um, I'm gonna go right into my picks here. I had Dallas over Arizona as my lock of
Hmm.
the week. Arizona gave me the big middle finger. I was not appreciative of that, which really hurt. Pitt over Cleveland. I told you, do not bet against Big Ben. Last game at home, he dominated. Cleveland looked bad. Baker Mayfield shut down for the rest of the year. And we've already talked about Miami. Do I really need to rehash this? It was bad. The offense looked bad. Tua played horrible. The offensive line didn't look great. The play calling was bad. The defense gave up a lot of rush yards. They were outcoached, outplayed, out physical. It was horrible. Very much fire everybody. Tennessee beat Miami, covered easily.
At least your team ended the game with the same number of players as when they started the game.
That is true. So now we're going to go to USIC, and I kind of give just a quick recap because there really wasn't too much to talk about in my games.
Hmm.
You had the Pats over the Jags,
Yeah.
and I know that you've kind of been this resident Jags fan because that's what you get. Also, they're kind of a little closer to home from where you
Yeah.
currently live.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of that? I don't think you did. You watched the Bucks game, probably, right? They both played at one.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I'll give you the quick recap on that. Mac Jones, a lot of points. Running game, a lot of points. It was 42 to like 3.
yeah.
Do we need to go into any more on that?
No, no. Yeah, I got a little flack from you guys of picking. I think it was like a 16-point spread at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, they covered it pretty handily. I
Well,
think more than doubled the spread there.
I wasn't too worried about that one. Although I always say that like big spreads scare me. I believe it was the fact that you picked the Texans as your upset over the 49ers. And it was
Hey.
like a 12-point spread on that one that I questioned. What happened?
uh,
Texans Texans?
they did not keep the train rolling from the previous week. There was a couple indicators that I was hoping would just keep going with them, right? 49ers were down their starting quarterback, Garoppolo, injured thumb, a torn ligament, I believe, in his thumb. So he's out. Trey Lance is starting, second game ever as a rookie. Um, Texans had beat up on their opponent the week before. They were coming in. I was hoping they'd keep. They had strong run game in the week before. Figured that would keep them going. Yeah, it did not happen. We weren't even close. I don't even think we covered the spread as a losing team. So yeah, it was worth a shot, right? Worth a shot.
The Bucks, oh, excuse me. They played the horrible Jets, so they must have won that one by 75 points, right?
Yeah, we'll cover this one real quick, like you've been doing. We'll just gloss over this one.
I'm good with it.
We led that game for a total of 16 seconds, and that was the only 16 seconds that mattered. So yeah, they scored first. They kept the lead the entire game. We may have been tied a couple points here and there, but we did not have the lead the entire game until well very end of the fourth quarter. Scored a touchdown with 16 seconds left to go up by
Well,
two points.
can I ask you what the Jets were doing? Fourth and like 2 at the 4-yard line, they QB sneaked it against that Bucks defense. With an
I'm not.
athletic quarter, at least roll them out.
I'm not
And then
complaining.
and
I'm not,
and then but the Bucks do what the Bucks do. They go down the field 96, 97 yards in like 90 seconds. They hit
Mhm.
this kid who's got a really cool story. And if you guys don't know about him, go Cliff Avery. Nope, that ain't right.
I don't.
Anyways, do you have his name? Hey,
No,
look up his
you're.
name for me.
No, I don't have it.
This guy, he's a really, really cool story. He was like a nobody. He wasn't even going to make the team. I believe he was like getting ready to become a coach or something. And something Grayson, I want to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Grayson.
and
Cyril Grayson.
that's it. And he's and really cool story. Look him up and read more about his story. Good guy. Couldn't be happier for the kid who replaced Antonio Brown. Bucks
Hmm.
win it. Congratulations. However, they did not cover the spread. It was a 14-point spread,
Yeah,
and
not even close. No.
no. So
But I mean,
anyway,
it was so. I guess the one
mm,
thing I took away from this, and small takeaway maybe, there's a lot of games we've played like this season, and we haven't come back to win. We haven't in that. There's a couple, but there's a couple teams that we were expected to beat. The Saints. What was the one? There was one before that. Washington football team. There are a couple games where we should have won. We had the chance to win, and we just couldn't get that last bit to kind of go through a game that wasn't going our way. And we did this game. So it's kind of and without Godwin, without Brown, without some of our main key contributors, Fournette wasn't there either. So to win a game like that where things aren't going our way without the people we need, it was kind of promising heading into the playoffs. I think that's the only thing I really took away from it.
yeah, I was gonna say it's also against the Jets, who are
Yeah.
also missing pretty much any good player because they don't have any. So, anyways, we'll kind of move off of that. I know that left you guys won, so that's a good taste, but there's a lot of bad in that game.
Yes, yeah.
Also, at halftime, Antonio Brown said deuces. So we're going to get into G-Man's picks. I'm going to kind of run through them real fast here. All three, boom. His lock of the week, he has the Rams over the 49ers on a 4-point spread. He said the Rams will cover and say goodbye to the 49ers. And if the Saints win, the 49ers are out, which helps the Dolphins draft pick. So I hope that happens. That was his lock. His upset of the week. Heath believes that the Raiders are going to beat the Chargers. They obviously we just talked about it. They have the Sunday night matchup, winning you're in situation.
Hmm.
A tie, G-Man is wrong. Just so we know, ties you don't get credit on upsets. All right, that's a rule that I just implemented.
Perfect. I concur. Majority rules. Move on.
All right, and oh, if anybody here does not like it, say something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. We're
Okay,
good.
I didn't hear it. So, and his favorite team here, the Philadelphia Eagles, he is taking Dallas at -7. He thinks that with Philadelphia locking up the playoffs and pretty much the 7 seed, that they're going to rest some of their starters and doesn't believe that they'll cover even with 7 points.
Interesting.
So those are his picks. I kind of understand where he's coming from. Dallas needs this win to kind of have a chance at the 2 or 3 seed, I don't think they're locked in that 4 seed yet, but I
Hmm.
believe they're just about. Now, we're gonna go to you. Lock of the week. Who you got?
I do not like the last week of the season because there's so much. Teams are resting people. Teams don't care about games. You don't know who's going to be playing and for how long. And so, my strategy this week was to pick teams that still had something to fight for, and hopefully, potentially, playing teams that don't have anything to fight for. So, my lock, I guess we'll start there. I was in my head. I was already on my upset. My lock, I'm going to pick, and now I got to find it again. The Colts over the Jaguars. The Colts do still have something to fight for. There is still a little bit there for them to get into the playoffs. Jaguars are not fighting for anything at this point.
Not true. They are
Besides
the
the
number one
fact
overall
that
pick.
the other
The
good.
number one overall pick.
So I mean, I think the Colts are. It's a large spread again, but I think the Colts are going to have no problem against the two-win Jaguars.
What's the spread?
15,
Whew.
15
Okay.
points.
Okay. Um. So I did the same thing. I actually was writing Jags. Oops. Because
No,
I
I'm
don't think
not. I'm
that
not
they
picking the Jags to upset the Colts this week. I've learned my lesson from last week.
I gotcha. So I also did what you did. I looked at teams that have something to play for and the team that doesn't. And I have the Titans over the Texans. It's a 10-point spread.
Hmm.
Texans aren't very good, but the Titans are still, I believe they need this win to lock up the 1 seed. They're getting Derrick Henry back. Tannehill looked decent last week. That defensive line is amazing.
Hmm.
They they're gonna get AJ Brown is 1 week healthier, and that's enough. That's all they need. Goodbye Texans.
I like it.
Sick. You're upset.
Yeah. So this one's gonna be interesting. So I picked opposite of G-Man this week. I think 49ers are going to take on and take over the Rams. Um, there's a couple things for me that stuck out for this game. Uh, I don't. I know he's questionable. I'm not necessarily expecting him to play, but Garoppolo could be back this week. He was in some practices. He potentially could be back. It's a game they need to win. Like you said, if the Rams or there's a couple factors, but they need to win this game to help lock up some of their playoff spot. The Rams are already there. The Rams are already, I think they're the 2 seed. But
They win.
what was that?
If they win, they're the 2 seed. If they
Yeah.
lose, they can drop to the 3 or 4 seed.
So I think that there's, 49ers, they've come off a couple wins, especially even if Trey Lance is the one who starts this week. He was playing pretty good last week. He wasn't, they're playing the Texans, I think, the ones that I had picked to win. But they played pretty well last week. I think if they have Garoppolo back, uh, I did I did find this interesting stat. I almost forgot it. Um, Garoppolo is 5-0 against LA, against the Rams.
I never would have guessed that.
Me neither, but I saw the stat and I was like, interesting. That adds something to
Just
the
boom,
pot
hit the
there.
button.
Yeah.
I like the theory. I like what you're doing. The behind the scenes. I like the thought process. I will say that you've had to change your thought process around because lately
You, you
the
gotta
record has
fine tune it. You gotta figure out where it
as you
is.
go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I did something similar to you where I went, what teams have things to play for? And I went with Pittsburgh over Baltimore because Pittsburgh hates Baltimore. Big Ben's last games against the division rival. Big Ben ain't gonna lose that game. Big Ben ain't gonna lose that game. I'm gonna say that one more time. Big Ben ain't gonna lose that game. So I have Pittsburgh over Baltimore as my upset. And now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are facing the dreaded, the very strong Carolina Panthers. What's the spread? What are you looking forward to, hope to see, and what's your thoughts?
I mean, what we played them was it only 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago? Um, so I mean, this time it's at home, so I mean that's it's always an advantage. Um, but yeah, playing the Panthers, I think it's an 8 point spread, um, and I I mean the way we played against them last time, I really don't see a problem. I'm definitely picking them to cover. Um, it'll be interesting because it's definitely a different Buccaneers team than the last time. Actually, I think this was we played them right after the Saints, so we would have already lost Godwin. Fournette, I believe, was out for that game as well. So it'll be pretty similar to how we played them before. And of course, so maybe a little less for us to fight for this week. Last time we played them, we were trying to lock up the South division. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think there'll be too many concerns of us winning and covering that spread there.
Now Panthers aren't very good. Well, the Dolphins are playing this opponent that they haven't faced since week one. And it's really not that big of a game for Dolphins fans. It's only Patriots week. And so Miami is facing New England this week, Sunday, home against the cheaters. I mean, Patriots. Miami is a 6 point home underdog. And
Ouch.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I Miami is a good team. They're not a great team. But they're above average,
Uh huh.
especially the way they've been playing. Outside of last week, when it was a rainy, cold day, that Tua looked awful. Mac Jones is not very good. I know they just beat up the Jags and Miami came off of a humiliating loss. I don't see it. I'm not saying Miami's going to win this game, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Miami win this game. Miami plays well against New England. Their styles match well. I think it's going to be a hard fought game where both teams are going to play great defense. It's going to be relatively low scoring in a relatively close game. They're not going to lose by a touchdown. I don't believe it. And I would be shocked to see Mac Jones throw like three touchdowns. Like he's going to throw like one touchdown, two picks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I got Miami covering that as a 6 point underdog at home. Good teams are hard to beat at home.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, Matt Jones. He's. I mean, last week you saw some of the numbers, but I mean, you're playing the Jags defense versus the Dolphins defense. Dolphins defense has kept them in the game. So having that rookie quarterback against a defense like that will take the ball away from you, that will force you to play a little bit different than what you're used to. I could definitely see that as well.
Wow. We got, not that we do this too often here, but Jordan there in chat, 34-17 Pats. Not a chance that's going to happen. He was also somebody that allegedly said that the Chiefs would be able to just destroy Joe Burrow. And of course, Joe Burrow lit them up on fire. So, so sick. We kind of discussed a little bit of everything here on the podcast. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts this week. I don't like when they switch up the schedule. I was sitting around Thursday evening trying to figure out what to do. So yeah, I don't like that there's no longer football throughout the weekdays. That's kind of annoying. And I'd say my last final thought, going back to AB for just a second, wait till we figure out all the details. We can speculate all we want. We can throw these things back and forth. I want to see proof. I want to see. Hopefully, we get some closure on what occurred. I feel like the way AB is approaching it, he's going to force some of the closure to occur. But yeah, let it play out. Don't jump to conclusions.
My final thought is very simple, and that is one: if you know somebody that has COVID, stay away from them. Don't play Call of Duty with them; they might give it to you. And that's all I got to say, really. Enjoy this week, the last week of the regular season. Next time we talk, we'll be talking playoffs, and we'll be going and discussing every matchup. I cannot wait to see you guys then. We will have at full strength, hopefully, the podcast, and not this COVID stricken, COVID list fumbling gurus. Until then, guys, we will see you guys next week. Bye.
All right, bye everyone.